can you?
Good times.
Craig still got you covered football. I guess is it just Galax now?
Yeah, I need to, I'm glad you mentioned that. I need to shoot him a text. Galax won against George With the other night, I believe it was.
Played, I think Narrow's next, didn't it?
I don't even know now.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it's Narrow's.
What do they stand before getting in the, they go to region once playoffs are done, right? If they make it through playoffs, they'll go to region playoffs, or is that what they're in right now?
Well, yeah, I think this game of Narrow's would be the region championship.
Okay.
And if they win that, I think they would be in state, which would be basically, I think, 4 teams left, I think. I'm not 100% sure because, it's not like it's ever been an issue with Carroll, but, Galax goes about every year, but I think that's what it is after the region championship. If you win that, I think there's 4 teams left in your classification.
Yeah, all right.
Of course, Narrows will be tough. They're a really good team, but I feel like Galax is a little bit better. It's supposed to be 6.
I reckon they canceled it.
No. I guess they're still in closed session. Yeah, it must be iron something out.
Carroll calling about the thing they're doing in December. tree artisans.
I think so. I believe so. Dave's got an article for this week on it. It's about the Carter Home Christmas. I guess it's
Okay.
the same. I think it's the same thing. Yeah.
We'd probably run ours week after. But she told me they're doing, might be doing tours up until they.
That's cool. We went to the hospital. We went down to Baptist on Thursday. He'd been sick for a couple of weeks, and of course, Tommy's kind of like me. He's ain't gonna go to the doctor unless your foot's blown up twice its normal size. But he's real bad about it. He went to the doctor. He told him he was down at the Baptist. They told him he's got a mass on both arms.
Oh, I like
Big
that.
mass on both arms. He come back.
Somebody help me out here.
Girlfriend drove him back.
We'll sit right here.
Is he here?
Next day.
I think I have these backwards. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know.
I think I'd know by now who sits where. It's hard on this side. I always come from the other side.
You ever seen one?
Oh, yes.
Looking at
Well,
some
it's,
stuff.
what now?
Yeah, we've been, we're cleaning up grass. I never been.
My dad told about that, and I think.
What's your name?
I didn't know, Philip, I asked this that question.
Sunday boat was in where
It's a
Well, he
government,
was staying at a friend's house and some
geographical,
story goes
whatever.
on.
Why is some of that community?
Other guys.
See, that's the thing, that's one of the things that we want to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we need to talk, you know?
And that's something that we're trying to
One's
get
about my age.
to. Okay.
You know?
Looking for a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Have a motion for the approval of the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Start the voting with you, Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Dr. Littrell?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We're looking for approval of consent agenda, section A, B, C, and section D, the treasurer's report is just for information purposes only. We entertain a motion to accept those, the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
So moved.
Have a second. Any other discussion? I'll start the voting with you, Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Dr. Littrell?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We have a committee appointment as our next item on the agenda, and it's for the Planning Commission. We have an application from Terry Russell. Has everyone looked over your sheet that was got on our desk? Do I have any comments, or I have a motion to accept his application?
I make a motion, we accept the application.
I have a motion to accept Terry Russell's application for the Carroll County Planning Commission. Do I have a second?
A second.
Have a second. Start the voting. Any other discussion? We'll start the voting with you, Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Dr. Littrell?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you all for that. Will someone notify him, please, of his appointment? Next item is old business. And old business is consideration of repeal or modification of the Carroll County Code 235-21, authority to require connections, and 190-12 non-user service charge.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we've gone around and around with this. We have a lot of financial issues concerning this motion that I'm getting ready to do shortly. I think that to be included with this, if we pass this ordinance tonight, or elimination of that ordinance, then it may be brought up again later on to be something that is fairer and more better than we have today, just to let you know this, if it passes. So that's something going forward we need to look at, because we don't know how much financial part of this that we will have to cover. Secondly, we don't know what USDA will do. You know, we're going to have to send out letters, not just to the folks that work over there, but probably to attorneys with the U.S. government, just to get a yes or no or indifferent. But anyway, with that said, did I cover everything on that you think I should? With that, I make a motion to repeal section 235-21 of the county code, effective July 1, 2019. And that gives the PSA adequate time to propose a new rate structure, hold a public hearing, so and so, and take final action to adopt such rate structure and change the billing forms as required. And if this is passed, the board, we may also have, well, I think I'll just make that motion.
Okay.
Leave that and I'll do the next one.
I think we probably need to include 190-12 in that also. I mean, that's the way it's advertised on the agenda.
On the agenda?
Yeah.
Given Mr. Hill's comments, I think that it's appropriate to.
Okay. And I have a motion from Mr. Hill to repeal the Carroll County Code 235-21 and 190-12 mandatory connection and non-user service charge ordinance. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second. Do I have any other discussion?
Yes. I'd like to discuss something. I just want people to know that the vote I'm fixing to cast was put upon me by being a supervisor of January 1st of this year. I have really struggled with this because I have studied and I have tried to listen and I've tried to reason and I have prayed about this. So I want you all to know that the vote I'm about to cast is from my heart and the way that I want to see business done in Carroll County again. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I have something, please.
Go right ahead.
It's been noted in various places that I'm against repealing this ordinance, and I feel like it's the PSA's position to make great changes, and here's why. As we prepare to vote on the motion to repeal, I want to make it clear that in reality, this ordinance, which is currently in effect, only affects a small portion of the citizens of Carroll County. This discussion has taken up months of the Board of Supervisors' time and energy. The fact is that if the ordinance is repealed, thousands of Carroll County citizens will be negatively affected for years to come. The discussion that started all this could have and should have been addressed by the PSA. This issue was started by a few people with legitimate concerns, but as the ensuing discussions were continued, they were tainted by half-truths and distorted facts. Successful passage of this motion will be a disservice to the entire county. There are currently around 8,000 Carroll County citizens served by public water and sewer. If this ordinance is repealed, the PSA will have no choice but to raise the utility rates of these customers, and it could well be a very significant increase. If this motion to rescind passes, it is doubtful there will be any more new water or sewer projects in the county. This means no Carroll County citizen can ever depend on enjoying the benefits of a new utility project that could replace a failing well or septic system, replace an underperforming well, or replace a well that has tainted water. Additionally, adequate fire protection will continue to be a problem where there are no fire hydrants. Homeowners insurance will be higher than if the insured property were closer to a fire hydrant. And any land subdivided will have to be larger and fewer lots in the subdivision because there's no public utility available. One positive aspect of public water is that it continues to flow during times of power outages such as we just experienced, unlike wells which require electricity to power the pumps. If the board votes to repeal the ordinance, I feel it will certainly be a short-sighted and disastrous decision. The consequences of repeal will include loss of any significant economic development outside of areas already served with public utilities. It will mean higher utility rates for current customers, and it will mean no additional systems will be built for those desperate for a better, safer, dependable, and tested water source. These negative consequences will rest squarely on the backs of those Board of Supervisor members voting to remove this ordinance from the county's toolbox. And they will bear the brunt of the public's future discontent about higher utility bills and unavailability of new projects. It has been mentioned that this ordinance is unbiblical. Perhaps just the opposite is true. Yesterday during my church service, one of their songs included the following verse: "Grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the facing of this hour." Responsible decisions are not easy and sometimes not popular in the face of determined opposition, but nevertheless it is a courageous choice. The scripture lesson yesterday came from Hosea 14, verses 9, which said, "Those who are wise understand these things, those who are discerning know them." Every choice carries with it consequences. I hope I've given you some thoughts to consider before you vote on this motion to rescind the ordinance. The choice to repeal this ordinance will have huge negative consequences for all of Carroll County. Plato once said, "Know the right thing to do and do it."
Mr. Martin?
I've been told I'm for and against this thing, and neither one is true. The problems with it and the good things with it it didn't come about in 6 months by any one board. It came about over years and years with a bunch of different boards trying to get water and leading up to sewer in the county. In the motion that was made, my good friend Mr. Hill mentioned financial twice. I'm not going to support any motion, good or bad, about this until I take Rex's statement a step further. I haven't seen one daggum piece of literature about the cost of anything. And when the board works on budgets, somebody comes in and says, why don't we give 20% pay raises across the board to everybody? Well, that's wonderful. Well, we don't do it without looking at the bottom line cost. And the same thing about fire trucks and on and on and on. And I cannot vote in good conscience without seeing the cost of this stuff. I am not going to vote to increase the cost for Pine Creek citizens to pay for the rest of the system. I need to see bottom line numbers on this thing before I can vote. And that's why I move to table this motion until the PSA has another opportunity to look at these things, that the board is looking at different options. I'd like to see the PSA look at it. And the next thing is, it's been mentioned that we need to get information from the folks, USDA, I won't say FHA, USDA, we need information from them. I mean, what will they accept? What won't they accept? And we didn't get in this situation in 2 months. I don't think another a month will kill anybody. That's why that I move that we table this for 1 month.
Second.
Do I need to see if that will carry?
That is a motion that takes precedence over the
Okay.
main motion.
I have a motion and a second to table this vote for 1 month. Start the voting with you, Mr. Webb.
No.
Mr. McCraw?
No.
Mr. Hill?
No.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Dr. Littrell?
Yes.
And I'll vote no. The motion does not carry. We'll move on to the motion at hand by Mr. Hill. And we was in the discussion process, and I would like to say something too. When this ordinance was established, it was established on the basis of the Code of Virginia. And it was an ordinance to give the PSA the authority to set mandatory, the authority to require connections to any water system or sewer system hereinafter acquired or constructed. I think that it got out of hand, in my personal opinion. And it's kind of like Joe said, he's thought a lot about this, and I have too. We've got to do the right thing for everybody in this county. It needs to be reevaluated. This whole thing needs to be reevaluated. I think there's different options out there that we can use. I think there's answers for everybody. But at this point in time, the only way I see of heading forward is to repeal it. And that's, I like what Rex has done. He's presented a motion that repeals it at a date in the future to give the PSA time to come back with a plan. And I guess that's all I have to say. Does anybody else have anything else?
Excuse me,
Yes,
Rex.
sir, go ahead.
When would this reappeal of your motion take place, be effective?
July 1,
Why in the world
2019.
can't we wait 1 month? We're already gonna be waiting to July 1 or whatever, that. But you got the votes, so,
Anything else?
Yeah, I've got a couple things to say. Back in 2008, with low-interest loans, this county decided to build schools and do water systems. It's not going to be paid for 40 years. Now, the PSA debt, $36 million. School, probably right close to that as well. So when a board of supervisors, and we affecting people down the road, other boards down the road, by our decisions we made today. We are making our decisions, or we are having to deal with this because of decisions in the past. The previous board that passed this, the vote was 4-2. And since then, one of those persons has signed the petition that y'all put out. So that would have been 3-3. That means it wouldn't have passed. And by setting it off in the daytime, into July 1, it gives us an opportunity to look ahead. Plus, I plan on making another motion that the Board of Supervisors and the PSA will do a work session so we can look at all the finances, everything, budgets, the whole 9 yards, to see exactly where we can come up with that money to cover this. And that's all I've got to say about that, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. I'll start the voting with you, Mr. Webb.
Mr. Chairman, point
Yes.
of order, please.
Sir?
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Can, just for the benefit, because I'm a little confused on the motion, can we read the language of the 2 codes that we're doing away with for the record, please?
If you'll hold on, I've got them right here, okay?
Yeah, we could be referencing them, but we haven't said them on the record.
Carroll Code number 235-21, authority to require connections. Pursuant to Virginia State Code 15.2-5137, as amended, the Board of Supervisors of Carroll County, Virginia hereby concurs, approves, and authorizes, in addition to any authority previously specifically granted by the Board, the PSA to require connections to any water system or sewer system hereinafter acquired or constructed by the PSA as permitted and limited by such code provisions and under the provisions of Chapter 51, Title 15.2, Code of Virginia as amended. Carroll Code 190-12, non-user service charge. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this article, those persons having a private water, septic, or domestic sewage system meeting applicable standards by the State of Virginia Department of Health shall not be required under this article to discontinue the use of such system. However, such persons may be required to pay a monthly non-user service charge, which charge shall not be more than that portion of the minimum monthly user charge imposed by the Carroll County Board of Supervisors or the Carroll County Public Service Authority as debt service bearers of the total operating and debt service costs. All fees charged will be in accordance with the rules and regulations as adopted from time to time by the Carroll County Board of Supervisors or the Carroll County Public Service Authority. And I would like, on top of that, to read, if I can find it, (15.2-5137) of the Virginia State Code, water and sewer connections exceptions. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this chapter, those persons having a domestic supply or source of potable water shall not be required to discontinue the use of such water. However, persons not served by a water supply system as defined in 15.2-2149 producing potable water meeting the standards established by the Virginia Department of Health may be required to pay a connection fee, a front footage fee, or a monthly non-user service charge, which charge shall not be more than that portion of the minimum monthly user charge imposed by the authority as debt service bears to the total operating and debt service cost or any combination of such fees and charges. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Mr. Durbin, excuse me, are you clear on what the motion is? and legally can stand on it and go forward?
The motion's been made and seconded.
Yeah, I know. But, it's easy to do stuff. Sometimes it turns into hard to live with, though, you know?
Well, then we've discussed, the questions that I have in my mind regarding the bonds for rural development. I've mentioned the Cliffview project that incorporates the letter of conditions into the bond resolution. And that letter of conditions does refer to a mandatory connection ordinance.
Right.
So it does raise question in my mind whether we remain in compliance with the bond. And it's my recommendation that if this passes, that we immediately contact rural development and advise them of that, and give them an opportunity to advise us if they contend that we're outside of our bond conditions, that we can take corrective action.
Call for vote.
Mr. Webb,
Okay, just for clarification, we're voting to rescind.
to rescind.
To
Yes.
rescind.
An affirmative vote is a rescission.
Okay.
Rescind.
I'm voting the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. I vote to rescind.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Littrell,
No.
Mr. Martin.
No.
I vote yes. Motion carries.
And again, it will go into effect.
July
July
1,
1.
2019.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I have another motion.
Okay?
I move that we direct the county administrator and the county attorney to send written notice of this action to the USDA RD to advise them of this passage of this motion and request that they notify the Board of Supervisors and the PSA Board in writing if they contend that such motion was in any way inconsistent with any bond covenant for financing related to Carroll PSA, and that the Board of Supervisors and the PSA will conduct a work session, joint work session, to discuss the financial ramifications of this passage.
I have a motion stated as Mr. Hill read. Do I have a second?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
Have a second. Any other discussion? Start the voting with you, Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Dr. Littrell?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda is citizens' time. Yes. Hang on just a second. Thank you. I have Ray Melton as the first person on the list.
I don't need the water and the sewer. So, Mr. Wolford is building houses across the street. And, he's got two built and got a 30-foot right-of-way back to his barn. And the next house will be in front of my lot, or in front of my house, I don't know which. And I don't want to hook on to the sewer and water until I need it.
Okay.
So I had a lady call me this evening, and she lives on 58. I don't know if it's north or south side. And I'll call her and tell her to call her supervisor. But she had been paying the sewer bill, said she didn't have water, but she'd been paying the sewer bill for 18 years. be 19 whenever he turns 19. So she wants her refund for the amount that she's been paying for 19 years, or for 18 years. And I told her to bring that up at the meeting tonight. And then I called her and let her know which supervisor she needs to talk to, Dr. Little or Mr. Hill. Thank you.
I think that was part of his motion, so you can call him.
The next person, I can't quite make out.
You're asking for
Just a second. D-O-Y-T-E?
Oh, that'd be me.
Okay.
your signature's about like mine.
Yeah, I was a doctor in a other life. Well, I've been coming over here 6 months now over this non-user fee. And looks like I'm finally going to get something done. I elected Rex, and I voted for him. And I think he's tried to help me, and I appreciate that. But, you know, the rest of you guys, I don't think I ought to have to come over here. You know, y'all should be doing things in my best interest. Or at least I would hope you would, but I guess that's not the case. But you know, y'all been talking about everything that was going to go bad. You know, the county's going to go bankrupt. PSA's going bankrupt. No more water in the county. I mean, it's doomsday. Where are you getting that? Where's that coming from? I guess you think you got a crystal ball that you can just go look through and see the trouble coming down the road. Well, let me ask you something. How come you didn't look through that crystal ball at Wildwood over here and see what's come over there? And at the airport. And everywhere else around the Carroll County. You know, it's like I told somebody out in the hall before I came up here today. I've lived in this county almost 74 years. Just recently, I am ashamed that I lived in Carroll County. And I hate to say that, but that's just the way I feel. These guys here, I want to thank you, and I'm going to tell your constituents how much I admire you and how much honor I think you have. But the rest of you, you know, the ones that's lied to me, and I'm going to tell your constituents too, every one of them that I see. Promise you that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Robert Mabe.
Board, I'd like to say that my name's Robert Mabe. I live 1753 Rescue Squad Road and Rescue Road, Austinville, Virginia. And I appreciate what y'all have done for the ones that is trying to get it done away with. I've noticed even there at McGee Road, from McGee Road all the way up to Woodlawn, nearly Honeycutt Dam, there's no water line at all. And them people, you know, through there, that some of them may need, some of them may not. There's a lot of houses through there on Coastal Church Road. And I think to myself, and then the other people that I went around with a petition to get to sign, some of them need it. And, you know, I'd like to see them have it. And they said they would hook on to it, and that'd be great. But you try to charge people that's not hooked up to it, you're wrong. You know, just like a brother said over here a while ago, he's going by the golden rule. I appreciate that, you know. He's doing what's right. And that's what we all are to be doing. If we take a look at ourselves, you know, it's not right. And I appreciate what y'all are doing as far as repealing it, you know. It's not right. And I thank you for your time.
Diane Robinson.
I'm Diane Robinson. I live in the Piper's Gap district, and I want to thank the four of you for being your brother's keeper.
Amen.
And Dr. Littrell, a fire hydrant in front of somebody's house doesn't prevent their house from being saved with a fire. It's the fire truck that gets the water out of that fire pump or that fire hydrant. So I think if you look on this side of the room, you'll see single parents sitting in your audience, and this side of the room, you'll see people on fixed income. I think you need to get in touch with your district and the people and know their situation. I mean, Carroll County's median income is the price of one of your cars, probably. That's all I have to say. But thank the four of you for doing the right thing.
Roger Edwards.
Oh, and I yield the rest of my time to my husband, Benny Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think the board previous in their policy have allowed yielding the time. Does policy matter?
I am not. I'm at fault for not knowing this, but I don't know. Did not know there was a written policy on yielding time. Can anyone answer that question for me?
I think it's
Generally,
chairman's
it's not
prerogative.
done.
Except in the United States
Generally
Senate
not
and
done.
House of Representatives in the state of Virginia. Sorry,
That's not true.
that's not true.
No, it's what you said is not true.
at your discretion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Robert's rules. Okay. Roger Edwards.
So are we able to yield our time?
I'm going to just say this about it, okay? This has been a dead horse that's been beat over the last 6 months, okay? I think we made a statement with what we decided to do on the motion tonight. I don't mind giving Benny the time to talk, as long as he don't take all night. If he would like to speak and just make it as short as he can, that's fine.
Okay, that's what I was going to do, is give Benny my time.
I have worked diligently to be as brief as possible to get the message through to a lot of people. For the record, I'm Benny Robinson. I live in Piper's Gap. Good evening. Mr. Chairman, I've listened to what you guys have had to say, and I am so enthralled that you've done the right thing. And I'm going to tell you why I think you've done the right thing. This moment, I can present you with 1,112 signatures throughout Carroll County asking for repeal of this ordinance. And that is not all. They are still coming in. I have to change this number every time I meet someone else in the hall. Allow me to set the stage for our concern. I know what we've repealed it, and I thank you again for it. No government is perfect. At best, flawed and led by imperfect men. We thank you that you have allowed democracy to work. Tonight, you repealed this ordinance, and we now know that this non-user discussion, and this dead horse as you call it, can hopefully go away for a while. Governments are, however, run by ordinary men, and you had an opportunity tonight to do an extraordinary thing, and you did it. And that extraordinary thing was to right a wrong that was put in place by misguided motives. One attribute in our form of government which sets us apart from the rest of the world is that we can rectify our wrongdoings. Most anyone who understands our form of democracy sees this as inappropriate. I would ask that you seek to understand your citizens before seeking to be understood. Make no mistake about the power of 79 non-users. And let me just add, I've only had 2 people who have refused to sign this petition out of the Piper's Gap district who simply did not understand it. I am persuaded that all of you hold lofty ideals for Carroll County. Consider where we come from. Our country was founded on the precepts of the Word of God.
freedom to choose, and living free. These are essentials in our guarantees. We are not free if governments take from us and deliver nothing. Correcting this wrong is individually your start at restoring government confidence. In your lifetime, you have observed our Constitution under attack, albeit here in this very room. Today, we are governed by laws that have legalized murder, taken prayer out of school, legalized sexual immorality, launched assaults on freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and a continuous evil onslaught directed at our moral fabric. This ordinance simply legalized stealing. So where does it stop, if not here? What benefits from a non-judgmental view of good and evil have we derived? Briefly, and I've got to put this out there. I wasn't going to do it, and I finally said I got to. Briefly on the case law illustrations presented at the public hearing. Keep in mind, all laws and politics start at the local level. This is not Virginia Beach. This is not Berkeley Township, New Jersey, nor Texas, nor North Carolina. This is Carroll County, Virginia, where we like to govern ourselves. Regardless of the distorted facts, this ordinance does violate our Constitution, and I will tell you why. Listen carefully. If you so desire, any of you, at a fitting time or place, I can acquaint you on the case law that was presented and its triviality. Moreover, and aptly germane, is a current Kernersville, North Carolina case centered on sewer overcharging. That recent case was unquestionably a constitutional violation. And here is a shortened quote. Got it in my briefcase if you want to see it. Here is a shortened quote from the court. This, speaking of the overcharges, constituted a breach of contract and an unconstitutional taking without just compensation, a violation of the United States and North Carolina Constitutions. Recall earlier in these sessions I pointed to the Fifth Amendment takings clause. There it is. You've already voted, but I want to do a little biblical scripture. Dr. Littrell. Ephesians 4:28 tells us, let him that stole steal no more. And James 4:17, if anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. We thank you for what you've done. And above all else, let's pray that America can turn away from her wicked ways when it comes to governing. Thank you.
I had one more on the citizen sign-up sheet that I skipped, and that was Judy Jones.
Judy Jones from the Cliffview Project. I just want to say thank you, four guys sitting up here that has listened to the citizens of Carroll County and recognized over 1,000 signatures to repeal this. We thank you. Let this be the first step towards fixing other issues in Carroll County by letting citizens get involved with making decisions. As you see, these 79, I think we have broke some ground here. Let it be known that in the future, and there will be other water projects in the future, let it be that the exact number of citizens needing water get the water instead of projected numbers. Those projected numbers is what got us into this non-user fee in the first place. You know, that just wasn't right to base a project on projected numbers. Thank you again.
Is there anyone else that didn't sign up that would like to say something? Yes, Steve.
My name's Steve Gregson from Fancy Gap. I know several of you are here today, and I just want to thank you for going through with the vote and doing what you felt was right in your hearts on today. I'm concerned about some of the comments that made tonight, and that is only 79. I'm one of the 79. Nobody's ever contacted me. I was one of the ones in the beginning on the Fancy Gap Water and Sewer project that objected to Mr. Hutchins' motion saying that all water and sewer projects would be mandated. And we questioned it at the time because Fancy Gap had already had PR and gone through approval, not finalized the papers yet. So I am for doing away with it, but I'm for it doing away with a modified. I feel that there are some benefits. Dr. Littrell, I agree with you. There are benefits from fire. We have had lower increases on our insurance, our property casualty because of having a fire hydrant close to our buildings there. There are benefits that if I do want to hook up down the road, that I can hook up the road. So there's benefits. And I think there's a fair fee that other counties have done out there. But I have a hard time when somebody comes up and speaks last month, and we're talking about $30,000 right now on the water side. And I also want to ask a question to the board and also council that the public hearing was on the water only. Is that going to cover us on the sewer side to do away with at the same time too? So
Can I?
Yeah.
I'll respond to that
Sure.
quickly. And that's what 190-12 was the
So we're-
one that does away with the sewer also.
So we're good on that, even though we didn't have a public hearing on the sewer specifically.
235-21 specified water and sewer.
Okay. So, I mean, when I saw the public hearing, it didn't specify sewer, and that was my concern to making sure that that was okay. And if you're good with it, well, you're going to defend it either way, so you're going to make a billable, so.
It was listed on the website as the water and
Okay,
sewer.
okay.
Okay.
So my question is that we're talking now about $60,000 because we've got 30 on each side right now, and I'm one of those 79 users. I'm also concerned that individual spoke last month who was on the IDA for 17 months. And you go back to the record, and that individual, while on the IDA, voted monthly for a fee called a set-aside fee that equates to over $900,000 a year. Why didn't that individual do something about $900,000? I'd support somebody who did $900,000 versus $60,000, but maybe $60,000 is the start. But the fact is that it had to do with the financing of these type of projects at the same time if you were involved in the beginning. Again, as I've stated, I'm not for the mandatory fees, but I think there should be a modification of that. As for case laws, and counsel, you might want to speak to this, the two case laws that I've heard of already, we're in the Commonwealth, and I've learned that the hard way. State court is a lot different than the Commonwealth. And a lot of things that are done in state court, and that would be North Carolina specifically, will not hold under case law in the Commonwealth, unless you're in the federal court system. And I'm not sure if that was a federal court or not. In the end, of the 1,112 people, I know of others that were the part of the 79 that were not contacted either. But I appreciate what you're doing. Mr. Hill, I think your motion is awesome because it gives time to work together with the PSA to put together something modified that doesn't create a problem greater than what the $60,000 is on an annual basis. And for that, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, sir. If you will, state your name when you get up. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm Larry McCraw, and I just want to say I got a judgment against me now. Is it gone?
Unfortunately, I don't think so.
I still got to pay that?
I think that because it was under previous, yes, sir. And I think that falls with the same way with everything else because it was repealed and it doesn't make it retroactive, correct?
It does not make it retroactive. Any charges that were made under the ordinance when it was in existence and going forward until the effective date of July 1st, those are valid charges.
Well, I ain't gonna pay them anyway, so it don't matter.
That's your decision.
Yeah, that's my decision.
That's right.
One thing, I ain't got no hookup at my thing. They didn't put me no plastic pipe out of the ground. They went through my yard, and I just ain't gonna pay it.
It's your choice.
Yeah, it's my choice.
Anyone else got anything? All right, the next item is supervisor's time. Mr. Webb?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank all the EMS workers, the power company workers. Carroll County went through a drastic time last Thursday with the ice storm and the freezing rain. At one time, I saw there was over 7,000 customers in Carroll County out of power, and Floyd County 6,000, and I was one of those for 57 hours. I didn't have any power, and I lived 2 miles out of town, so it didn't pick and choose, is what I'm trying to say. But I want to thank everyone that worked very hard, very diligently. The Sheriff's Department, I'm sure, was involved in it. I know our EMS was involved in it, and our power company. You hate to thank somebody because you're out of power 57 hours, but they got us back online, and as far as I know, no one was injured or no one was hurt. The other thing I want to do is I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Our staff, the board, our citizens. It is that time of year. This Thursday is Thanksgiving, and we have a lot to be thankful for. It's hard in this day and time to stop and think about what we had to be thankful for, but we really, really do have a lot to be thankful for. I want to thank our staff for working as hard as they do. It's a never-ending job, and I understand that. I want to thank the other board members. Contrary to what a lot of people believe, we do take this job seriously, or I do, and I know these other 5 guys do also. And we had a lot to consider with this meeting tonight in what could happen to Carroll County. I hope and pray that nothing drastic comes out of this. I hope and pray that we have done the right thing. I feel confident that I did. And again, happy Thanksgiving and safe travels home. Thank you.
Mr. McGraw?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that's been working on this, and it wasn't something that I just dreamed up and thought it was the right way to go. That's been on my mind for years, that it just wasn't right. And if it come by my house, I was going to be stuck with $56, 2 hookup fees. And I can sympathize with all of them that has been paying it and getting nothing for it. And I feel like we did the right thing. And I thank the ones that voted with us here for the vote. And I think the ones that opposed us, they had a reason for that. So I hope that what we did is right and best for the county. And I too would like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and may everything go well with you and your family.
Mr. Hill?
I want to thank everyone for being here, and like Judy said, I hope that everybody stays attentive to the board actions and hold our feet to the fire on anything going forward as far as budgets or anything else we pass. If you don't shine light on it, you don't expose it, you don't see it. So we need to be held accountable for our actions, same way the folks that made those decisions back in 2008 made those decisions that we're having to deal with at this point in time. I want everybody to have a great Thanksgiving, be safe going home, and I want to thank the PSA. Those ladies that sent me stuff, there's probably a day doesn't go by that I don't send a request for them. And I have read over, I don't know how many documents related to these water projects, Bob. I spent a lot of time looking at all those documents and ciphering through those things.
I know you do.
And that's what I challenge each of you to do in the future. Don't just take it for granted what folks say out here. Look at the school budget. Go on the Department of Education website. See what they have to say. What's the calculations for the school systems and for everything else that goes on that we do here. Look at the budget. Cipher down, see where's the money coming from. Check on the expenditure side. Check on the revenue side. We've held the treasurer accountable for the things going forward, so in the future we will get our delinquent taxes paid. That was the first step this board made. Now this may or may not be the right way to do it, or this vote that we've taken may not be the right way, or may be the right way. We will deal with it going down the road, just like we're dealing with 2008. And just think of those things. Keep your due diligence and keep up with what goes on with this board. Do your due diligence, searches, and look at everything. And that's my challenge to each Board of Supervisors member. And thank the public for being here tonight.
Dr. Littrell.
I appreciate the opportunity to go to last week's Virginia Association of Counties meeting. It was a very interesting meeting, and I tried to bring back a few things that I will share with you. There are two items in our budget that we unfortunately have little or no control over. One of them is the regional jail. The more prisoners that we send to jail, the more it costs us. And it's around $28 a person, I think, now per day. But early intervention could hopefully eliminate some of those numbers. And that takes me to the next large unpredictable budget item, and that's our social services and Children's Services Act, or CSA. And I heard an excellent presentation at VACO from Scott Rayner, who is Executive Director of the Office of Children's Services. And he offered some opportunities that we might bring that number down in that budget item. And so he said all you would have to do is ask him to come and speak before us, and he would be more than happy to. And I have his contact information if
awesome.
The board would be interested in having him come here
from
from Richmond and talk about that sort of thing. So I think it'd be very worthwhile if we could save just a couple of dollars. It'd be worth it.
Yes.
Otherwise, I hope everybody have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Mr. Bob.
Everybody have a good Thanksgiving. I still think it's very important that, and maybe if past boards had looked at the cost of some of the projects, we wouldn't be in this mess today. And there was a lot of things done behind the scenes that we weren't privy to. And I still maintain that it is critical that we look at the cost of things as we make decisions. And Mr. Truitt and Nikki, as we get into this, I want to see the figures, okay? If we say we're going to go with option A or B or C, I want to know that, I want to see the numbers on it, okay? And I think that's critical. And if you talk to the people in the county, they'll say, what about the numbers? These folks they're upset about the fees, and they are not hooked up or whatever, and I don't blame them. However, we need to take the same approach to everything we do. We're coming up on a budget, and the policy's wonderful, but if a policy costs you $500,000 for something, then we need to take a look at the policy. And that's where I'm coming from. I want to know what the cost is. It doesn't tell you anything when you say that the policy calls for so-and-so and so-and-so with $250,000 cost increase. Okay, well, $250,000 makes a difference, and I just want to know the numbers on everything when it's coming before us. Not only a happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas coming up. Okay.
I do want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We have put a lot of effort into this. We wanted to do what's right for everyone. And I mentioned a while ago that there is solutions out there, and they are. We just got to find them. The gentleman made the comment that he had become ashamed to live in Carroll County. I'm not going to say that. I love Carroll County. I had the opportunity to leave here, and I come back because I love it. I've got two kids, a 30-year-old and a 26-year-old, that both had the opportunity to leave, and they both come back because they love this county. They love this area. I'm in my job, I meet a lot of people that have relocated here from different places, from all over the United States. And when you ask them why, they say because of the people, and because of the area. And we have fine people in this county, and I want to see us continue to move forward, and I think we have a good start at moving forward. And I think anyone on this board will tell you, if you have a question about something, anything, ask. We'll find you an answer somehow. When I run for election, and one of my things is I wanted this government to be more transparent. And the only way to make it more transparent is for people to ask questions and for the citizens to be involved in this county. I thank everybody that put time into this. I thank Tom and I thank Bob for their no votes. It shows that there is a difference, but we do have to work together to make it all happen. I hope everyone has a really good Thanksgiving. If you travel, be safe. Thank staff. Thank you all very much for all the efforts you all put forward. And I don't know of anything else. If anybody has anything else, not, I'll take a motion for an adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Hill, any other discussion? Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Dr. Littrell?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And I vote yes, this meeting's adjourned. I'd love for him to come and talk to us.
It's a consistent.
I mean,
Do each individually.
I would love for him to come. I mean, do you want to call him, or I'll reach out to him? I will, or I'll get Steve to reach out to him. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think it's a great idea.